Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Tampa Bay Real Producers podcast. This, of course, is the podcast that is made for real producers by real producers and with none other than Tampa Bay's Real Producers and the partners of Tampa Bay Real Producers. Today we have one of those partners on as part of our partner series. We're also brought to you and powered by Top Producers Nation. You can check that out at topproducersnation.com if you want to learn more about how to become a top producer in your desired market, the online community, the resources, the course, the automated business suite. All of that is offered there at topproducersnation.com. So today we get to hang out with my boy Sam Gay. How are you, Sam?
I'm great. How are you today, Don?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to have you on the show.
Appreciate you having me.
Sam has been a partner now with Tampa Bay Real Producers for a few years at least.
Yeah.
Going back to a couple different brands, and we met years ago through one of our other partners here with Real Producers. So why don't we kind of start a little bit with your background for people to get to know you. So did you grow up in Tampa? If not, how did you get here? And at some point, how did you get interested in lending?
Yeah. I'm actually a Minnesota native, so I was born and raised in Minnesota. I ended up staying around in Minnesota for 1 year of collegiate football, which was a good experience. And
that explains the broad shoulders, as you can see.
After that, I just kind of decided to relocate to Florida State and finish up my college time, at Florida State, and stop.
Weather's a little bit nicer, huh?
Yeah, it was. 65 below zero is a beat down sometimes. So, no, it was extremely cold growing up. We'd have more days canceled due to how cold it was over snow.
Right.
Kids would freeze at the bus stop. So it'd be like 40 below zero, the 65 below wind chill, and. I was excited to get out of there, so came down to.
Did you grow up in Minneapolis, or?
No, it was actually south of Duluth, so that wind chill came right off of Lake Superior.
Oh boy,
so, yeah,
that's rough.
So yeah, I was excited to.
Not as rough as FSU's football season this year, but
yeah, I had to stop watching after the third week. I got the Vikings holding.
That's right, you do have Minnesota Vikings at least.
Hopefully they make a nice little run here, but yeah. So was excited to move down to Tallahassee. It was close by where my grandparents lived in Destin, so I had some family nearby, and ended up doing my undergrad program and my grad program at Florida State. I had a business degree, and then because I had a background in sports, I did my master's in sport management. And at that time, I was running a chain of gyms with my friends. So
was that your goal with sports management? Was to like the fitness side?
Honestly,
so I actually majored in that too. I was hoping that I wanted to be a sports agent. Is what I wanted to go down that path, but I ended up not wanting to go to law school. So
yeah, well that was the whole desired thing, really, sports agent. I thought coaching too. I got my college, coaching certificate while I was doing that grad program, and it was at the time where we were coming out of the 08-09 crash, and so everybody was going to grad school. Mm-hmm. And so I applied for it, and Florida State said that they would pay for it if I taught, if I taught the undergrad classes. And so I actually taught bowling, stretch and relaxation, and basic weight training, and Florida State paid for my grad school. So yeah, it was at a time where that was kind of the thing. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Ended up graduating, moving down to Tampa. And
what brought you to Tampa?
A relationship at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. She was
that's a good reason.
Rooted in Tampa, and I was definitely not going back up to the cold. So I kind of put my roots here. She had a semester left of school up in Tallahassee, and ended up starting with Geico out in Lakeland. Random. It was still kind of a tough job market back then, so I took something to get me here, and I went on this fast tracked claims litigation route. And so I was working with our defense team and resolving catastrophic injury claims with Dan Newland and Morgan & Morgan up in Orlando. Mm-hmm. I also then got an interest in law, thought I was going to go to law school, and I got all teed up and ready to go. And after doing work and grad school and all that kind of stuff, I really wasn't excited to jump back into another 2, 3, 4 years of school, depending on how quick I did the program.
Yeah.
And I also didn't want to move to Orlando, and that's where I got the scholarship. So I was going to work in the day and go to school in the evenings, and I ended up, just kind of deciding, or going through that process of if that's the best, route for my career. And I happened to be back home in Minnesota for my parents' 25th wedding anniversary at the time. And my dad's been in lending for about 30 years. And,
Okay.
And
So there is lending in the blood.
yeah, there is. Yeah. My grandfather owned a small bank in a small town when my dad was growing up. And then my dad ended up going into lending. And it's kind of funny because I always thought I'd maybe end up in lending, but didn't really think so once I relocated to Florida.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went back up to Minnesota for the wedding anniversary, and he's telling me they're opening another branch in Duluth, and he thought I would be a good candidate to apply for the mortgage division.
Sure.
And so, I asked him,
Do you really want to go back to Duluth?
yeah, exactly. Right. So, I was like, well, tell me a little bit about the job. What am I going to be doing? He's like, we already have the analytical side. You're good in school and all that kind of stuff. But at the core part of the job is you make friends and you close loans. Mm-hmm. And so I said, well, that sounds great. And then I came back down to Tampa. I called them up and I said, hey, I appreciate you, giving me the career insight, and I am not moving back to Minnesota, but I'm going to get licensed here in Tampa. So at that time in Geico, I got out of the litigation department, went into the management side. First step in management was managing a call center. I picked a nice schedule with Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, like noon to 10 p.m. and built my mortgage business on the side, and then kind of transitioned and switched out and been doing that. Been in the lending for about 7-8 years now. So
nice. And so at first you were hooking up with some existing companies, and did you find like a mentor or somebody that you felt like kind of got you into the business locally?
I did. I ended up working for, his name's Ray Lewis. He had his own boutique firm called Able First Lending, mm-hmm. or Able First Mortgage. Ray was a great guy. He's a one-man band, and he kind of took me under his wing and taught me the guidelines, taught me the ropes. Ended up, doing pretty well and gaining traction on, business and clients. Nice. And then it kind of became too big for the shop, if you may. And then that's when I made that transition over to Bay-to-Bay lending.
Cool. So did you find that in your early years there with lending, like was the key to success in the business developing relationships with the real estate agents? Was it working directly with the end user, the end home buyer? What was that initial path like?
Yeah, I mean, circle of influence was big for me. Florida State grad. There's a lot of FSU alum in town, so mm-hmm. I have a lot of contacts from Florida State. Additionally, spending at that time 5 years with Geico. There's a lot
yep.
of W-2 employees in your circle of influence
yep.
within Geico as well. There's like 3,000 employees out there in Lakeland. Mm-hmm. But yeah, realtors and circle of influence with, real estate agents and who knows who and who you can be connected with. And that's mm-hmm. kind of where the traction was made and just kind of never looked back. So
yeah, makes sense. And now you're with CCM today, right? Cross Country Mortgage.
Yeah.
And your official role over there, Sam, what's your title? Is it LO or?
Yeah, I'm a producing branch manager.
Branch manager. Okay. Yeah. So do you spend the majority of your time today on recruiting LOs, for your organization, or is it serving clients or both?
Serving clients, really.
Okay.
On the recruitment side, I moved around, a couple times coming out of Bay-to-Bay lending, and I had a small team of a small team of loan officers, and they've kind of come with me. So I've had a core group of LOs. I don't spend too much time on recruiting, just making the transition over to cross country. There's a lot that entails, and
yep.
getting acclimated to a new environment. So I haven't really started to grow the team further at this
Is
point.
that the vision? Is that the plan?
Yeah, this year I'd like to pick up, one or two, new LOs.
Okay.
I enjoy the production. I enjoy the client interaction. I enjoy, doing business with my referral partners, and
yep.
a lot of those are my friends. And so, at this point in time, I like being in the thick of it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, my day-to-day is spent servicing clients and seeing transactions through, helping out my team, facilitate their loan process.
Yep.
The one thing I really love about CCM is my regional, Dan Larios. He's just been a great, contact.
I know Dan.
Yeah, he's
back to the guaranteed rate days.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So I've always been in touch with him over the years, and he's been a great contact and, mentor. And he has just a fully fine-tuned operational like instrument in town locally here, and it's just been a blessing because one of the biggest things on the sales side of lending is the client interaction, the referral partner interaction, and being able to, customer service at the end of the day is what we're all here to do.
Right.
And so, when you're dealing with ops stuff on the sales side, it kind of stunts, your ability to perform at the level that you'd like to. And so Dan has a great processing set up in town, and we contract through his processing team, and it's just very streamlined, able to focus on the things I love about, the job that I'm in and the industry that I'm in. And it's been very refreshing being at Cross Country.
What percentage of your business today, Sam, do you get through your real estate agent relationships compared to other other direct end user or other strategic partners?
Yeah, I mean, I would say real estate agents on a referral basis probably account for 70 to 75% of my business.
So still a good chunk.
Yeah, a good chunk. Another avenue in lending, especially in a place like Cross Country where we have some products that some of the local banks don't have. But I'm able to make good relationships with other local banks where instead of just telling their client base no, they have a referral partner that can possibly tell them yes as well. Mm-hmm. And so that's an area as Cross Country expands even more into the non-QM space that I kind of have on my horizon to expand as well. I'd like to make more contacts in the banking world.
That makes sense.
To some of their clients.
Yeah, you were mentioning off camera too that you felt like your opportunities with some of the other products and services that you could provide have evolved or changed a little bit now that you're with CCM.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about, I think, non-conforming programs and so forth. So maybe you could touch on that a little bit and elaborate on like what are some examples of things that you are able to provide now that you weren't able to do before?
Yeah, I mean, so the non-conforming space is basically any mortgage that doesn't conform to FHA, VA, Fannie, Freddie guidelines, right? Yep. So a lot of the programs in the non-conforming space, revolve around clients who are self-employed, mm-hmm. who don't necessarily reflect the income that would correlate to them making a mortgage payment for one of those loans, but right. They actually do have the ability to make that payment due to revenue streams and stuff like that. So
you're looking at one of those guys right here.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. They
1099s, 18 years old, man. Yeah. So I know I feel the pain sometimes.
So you either they say as a joke and on our side of the fence in the industry, you either pay the government or you pay the banks, right? So right. Non-conforming mortgages tend to have slightly higher interest rates than regular loans. They tend to have a little bit more loan costs associated with them, but the main products would be like your bank statement qualifiers, all that kind of stuff, right? So Cross Country actually funds and services a huge portfolio of non-conforming lending, and in all my previous places where I've had my license and been in operation, whether it was a broker or another lender similar to Cross Country, like a lot of those loans are brokered out, and so you don't have control of the process. On the secondary market, there's a lot of trading of paper, so there's cost in between that gets passed on to the consumer. Because we fund and service, large portfolios, we're talking like $487 million packages that we're selling to Wall Street on the secondary market, or at least the owner of Cross Country. That's like above where I'm at, but
for now,
yeah, but we're able to offer extremely competitive rates to the clients that are getting closer and closer to those regular conforming rates, and the fees are usually a point off of most of our competitors. Okay. We also, because we're funding and servicing and we're backing these, we have a huge exception tier to our products, and so we're closing a lot of condos that are non-warrantable. We've actually recently closed in a land trust, which for the attorneys out there, that's near impossible to find a bank that will do that. We're doing some pretty innovative things, and the owner of Cross Country, he's an Ohio-based guy. He used to be a street guy originating loans back in the day, and when this whole NAR commission thing came out, he decided to allow realtors to roll their realtor commissions into our non-conforming loans, and so he's always out there creating little unique parts of their product
can make your product and services more distinguished, I think, is a way to position yourself.
Yeah, the mentality of the company is our referral partners are what made Cross Country, number one in the retail space nationwide. And so if we can't create opportunities to help them back, you know, and that's kind of the mentality that
Yeah.
that he comes from, is really just creating an edge on products that are just a little bit, you know,
Different.
a little bit more aggressive than the others out
Which
there.
I think I could speak to that as a 1099. Like that's what a lot of people I think in my type of space look for, right?
Yeah.
Is somebody who can be flexible to work with them and figure out how we're gonna make it work, you know, because I don't have that cookie cutter W-2 income to just show with, you know, the taxes taken out up front, like everything. We control that process, which I like.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hard to work with a traditional lender who doesn't know how to be able to make that work. You know, are a lot of your clients then like entrepreneurial and business owners and 1099s, you know, professionals? Is that a good client base for you?
That's kind of what I would say. The type of borrower that I would consider myself the expert in is the self-employed borrower. They're a challenging they can be a challenging client to secure financing, and really what I've seen, you know, back in 2020, 2021, the rates dropped. You had all these new loan officers flood into the market. They all worked for call center setups for the most part, like PennyMac, stuff like that, reading word tracks. Now they're coming out trying to get into the purchase business, and they're having to really do pre-approve these self-employed borrowers. I'm getting a lot of self-employed borrowers that will come across my desk that are told they've only been approved for $300,000 here, and we're like, well, no, like your max loan amount is about 620, you know, and so, you know, whether also like the self-employed borrowers, the way that they own their business, they're going to own it for a long time. So that's a really good customer to retain.
Yeah.
Because you're intimate with their finances, you're intimate with what moves they're making as a business owner, and if they want to just have a year or they have a down year, whatnot, you flip them over into a non-conforming loan, refi them out the next year into, you know, something a little bit more aggressive on the rate, and you know, as we all hope rates coming down in the next couple of years, you know, that's kind of the idea is, you know,
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, I know we've talked a little bit too before on some of our lunches about you have a proficiency for the commercial world as well. I know you've done some commercial loans or you've been involved in that space. Mm-hmm. Is that part of your business model still today? Like what percentage is residential versus commercial?
Yeah. I mean, right now, about 90% residential, 10% commercial. I kind of, because I made a transition over to cross country, you know, it takes a lot of acclimating and learning up front. You kind of feel like you're drinking water out of a fire hose for the first 6 months.
Sure.
So I kind of hung the commercial up temporarily, and I hope to expand more on that in 2025. Mm-hmm. You know, I got a good SBA investor that funds a large amount of a large amount of SBA loans in the country that have been brokering some of those too. And then I always entertain a few multifamily deals here and there, but I haven't got that to the place where I can say, you know, it's a good, you know, part of
the business
my mix. Yeah.
So that's still yet to be determined.
Correct.
But I know that you're educated in that space because we've had some conversations about that as well. So I think that's another perk though that you bring to the table is a lot of lenders that you talk to really have no real knowledge in that world, right? On the commercial side, and they can maybe give you a referral partner or send you to somebody who might. But I think there's a lot of value in trying to work with a lender who can help on both fronts, you know, because if you're somebody who wants a loan for your own house, or, you know, you're going to be a residential investor potentially, but at the same time want to maybe grow that portfolio to the multifamily world or self-storage facilities or mobile home parks or whatever it might look like in terms of building that asset class, working with that same money guy, I think there'd be a lot of value there.
Yeah, and it's cool too to kind of educate my real estate referral partners in the commercial space. You know, I'll have a lot of calls and questions where, you know, they'll give me a ring and they say, "Hey, can you get me this guy pre-approved for this SBA loan?" And it's like, yes, but the process is a little bit different. You know, obviously, even in residential and in commercial, the banks are always underwriting the borrower's ability to repay.
Sure.
Right? So, in the commercial space, the way that they perceive that is more so an underwrite of the actual business,
the actual asset,
and the actual asset, and then they're huge on experience. You know, they want to see, you know, a track record of you in this industry. If it's a new industry, you know, there's different quirks and stuff that they look at, and then. You know, it's really hard to just go start a new business.
So if you're new, then how do you get around that?
typically what a lot of these people, let's take let's take like an auto mechanic, right? Let's say that this auto mechanics worked for an auto body shop for 10 years. Now he wants to open his new, his auto body mechanic shop. That would count as experience. It's just not very often where you see somebody who's just tries. The hardest things to finance in the commercial space is somebody who just decides out of the blue they want to open a restaurant concept.
Right, and they've never done it before.
Yeah,
right.
And it's one of the most risky things from an
stats aren't very good in your favor.
So just stuff like that, they're gonna it's gonna be a difficult thing. But I see. Some of my clients, they end up owner financing or seller financing, in this market, especially with rates, still being high, a lot of them are working out deals directly with who they're buying the business from.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I wanted to flush out a little bit more too about, so in your experience now, Sam, what are some things that you think maybe a real estate agent out there who is watching the show or follows what we do, in your experience, what has been like things that you've come across that you think are important for agents specifically to know about working with somebody like you? I'm sure you've had some really success stories and some horror stories in working with agents in different ways, right? Are there some distinctions there that you can point out that you feel like are you've seen are important for agents that are gonna work well with you?
I mean, communication is, key in everything. Being on the same page, just understanding that everybody has the same motivation, and that's to get this client to the table and to do it with the most smooth process as possible, and then hopefully get a referral out of this transaction because of the job that we've done. And lender and realtors can really overlap, their layers of customer service when teaming up and having a collaborative approach. And so, obviously, from a lending standpoint, if I, the idea is that when you pre-approve your client on day one, every single possible outcome that could happen from start to finish, so that you don't get to the altar and stand your client up, right?
Yep.
That's something that you never want to happen, and that's a waste of time and resources and all that kind of stuff. So just identifying things that can become an issue in the transaction, making sure the realtor partners are informed, and then, certain things like, to the contract, if there's some repair items, like keep it on an ICR form. We don't need to put it on an addendum and, put it in underwriting. Just make sure that you're telling your customers not to deposit, cash and stuff like that. Just kind of overlapping.
Some basic common sense things.
Yeah.
They shouldn't take out a car loan or something.
Yeah, exactly. No boat loans before you got the waterfront house, stuff like that. But,
makes sense.
But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day too, like with my referral partners, I want that trust there that they can just go generate new business. They don't need to spend their time, monitoring the lending process. I'll give them timely updates, and the goal is that we're all out there doing things and activities that will hopefully generate more clients. And so, when the lending side is truly, trusted in me, and the client, the referral partners can spend their time, getting the updates that they need, but focusing on building their own business. Like that's the best relationship.
Yeah. And that's what you're there for, is let them trust you to do your thing. That theme of communication has probably been the most common theme that we've had as we've brought partners on, to, flush out the relationship between the lender, the partner, and the real estate agent. The importance of having somebody that you can communicate with. And when that doesn't happen, once communication breaks down, that's usually when the problems arise, right?
Yeah, no surprises.
Yes, exactly.
No one likes, surprises.
Exactly. And that's in everything, right? Personal relationships and business. So it works the same way.
This industry is the only one where surprises aren't.
I can agree with that. So what gets you fired up, Sam, when you think about the future? 2025, where this business is going? Anything you think you could share there about some of your goals maybe, or just what gets you excited in your vision for the next year or two?
Yeah, I'm just extreme, like for the first time, in my tenure in the industry, I feel like I've found like a long lasting home in cross-country mortgage. So, with all the, the AI underwriting that we're launching, it's just making our underwrites on income so streamlined. We're getting a ton of income relief where once you get into underwriting, they're not even asking questions about income. Everyone says, oh, AI underwriting, is that going to take away, from the underwriters? No, the underwriters work off the AI underwrite, and they can't change anything on it. And so we have a
Is that pretty common now in your industry, the AI underwriting? Is that a CCM thing?
There's nobody people are trying to do it right now, and we're ahead of the ball on that AI underwriting. So, like for instance, we have one of the largest contracts with the company that we're contracting through, and it's exclusive as well. And our division is actually the one piloting it, and it's just been absolutely insane. And so,
how big is CCM? Is it national?
Yeah, national company. Okay. They earlier this year they actually took the #1 in the country for lender of their category or type. So they've just been growing, and that's another really exciting thing to be with a company that's well capitalized in this down market. You know, there's a lot of companies out there that are really trying to, figure out their identity as a company and where they wanted to head coming out of one of the, hardest markets in the mortgage side with the rates being high and all that happening. And so, no, I'm just truly happy to be, in a company that's growing, expanding, but also having that local, hands-on, touch, with having a local branch here and local operation here. It doesn't feel like a big company.
Totally.
It feels like the same setup I had when I was in the broker space,
Is most of your business local, Tampa Bay?
Yeah, Tampa.
Are you licensed outside of Florida too?
I am. Tennessee,
Okay.
Minnesota, some of the Midwestern states, and then the Carolinas. But yeah, I mean, we have the we have the ability to fund for your clients leaving the states and all that kind of stuff. But from a goal perspective, over the last couple of years, you really have to kind of reinvent the wheel in a way, especially on the lending side with the rates and like just a lot of the the downturn and coming out of like that time, in 2020, 2021.
A lot of emotions, I'm sure you have to manage, right?
Yeah.
People are going through that whole process and
but
being hesitant maybe to sell or buy or figure out when's the right time to do it. Everybody wants to buy or sell at the right time.
Yeah.
Right?
No, exactly. And with people, accumulating a lot of credit card debt over the last, amount of years and stuff like that, it's just really kind of shifted the market. And, to be able to maintain the same trajectory in your career and lifestyle and all that kind of stuff, you really have to buckle down and work 2-3 times as hard. And so all that work I anticipate this year as the market turns is really about to all see, for those of you that are out there working on real estate side, lending side, we're really about to see some real good fruits of our labor this year. And then also watching my team, like I have a couple guys that got in right before the market came down, and they've stuck it out, and they've been surviving through this, and to see them get to grow and hit some of their goals is really exciting as well. Mm-hmm. And then I'd like to bring on a couple more people. We got a lot of opportunity, and we're ready to take on maybe 1 or 2 more elements.
Time for Sam to take over the world. A couple things on the personal nature for people to get to know you a little bit more if they don't know your story. I know we were talking off camera about how you just got back from a cool vacation in Europe with your girlfriend and was able to visit a bunch of different countries out there. So it sounds like you also spend some quality time on the balancing the lifestyle thing, right? And making sure you're not all work all the time.
Yes.
What do you love to do for fun? What are some hobbies, interests?
Yeah, I mean, I moved from Minnesota to Florida for a reason, to be close to the beach. So I love being on the beaches. I love being on the boats. I'm more of a coastal vacationer, so being close to the Caribbean is great. That's Croatia, stuff. Places like that are more attractive to me. I like to ski in the wintertime, get one of those in. But I'm a huge football fanatic as well. So,
Vikings is your squad?
They are.
Gonna keep Darnold or what?
I mean, how can you not? That guy's 11-2.
I know that he's really come out of
nowhere. And
nowhere.
that's just a good story too, man. Everybody was hating on him and throwing salt at him. It just goes to show, like, when you go to a new place and you got the right coaching and you got the right environment, like, you can perform. So. And
look at Kirk Cousins now that he's left.
we just hosted him last week. I
saw that.
Yeah, Darnold had like 5 touchdowns. He had like 0 and 2 picks.
So. And he was good for Minnesota. But yeah, that coach seems like he has a knack for working with quarterbacks.
Yeah. Kevin O'Connell's a real.
And he's a young dude too, so hopefully you got a good coach for years to come up there. They've been looking for a good coaching for a while.
Yeah.
I went up there. I told you this, I think, when the Giants played them in the playoff game a couple years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
I was happy that I got a chance to see my Giants win in Minnesota. That stadium is gorgeous.
We played you guys 2 weeks in a row, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
no, it wasn't direct, but yeah, we played in like week 15. And then I think they played like 3 weeks later in the playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to the one in week 15 where they kicked that field goal in the whiteout game and all that. But yeah.
Yep, I remember that too. And I was actually thinking there's a good chance we're going to play these guys
again. Yeah, same. And I was like, we're not going to beat them twice because we are the Minnesota Vikings.
Yes, yes. That was a fun. One of my highlights of being a sports fan myself is traveling up there because I never been to Minnesota before. Yeah. And it happened to be good weather that week. It was like 50. Like I lucked out. It wasn't negative 50. It was like 50 degrees. Yeah, so I had a coat, but I felt great about it.
I looked at it yesterday. It was -4. Oh, I'm like,
brutal.
Oh man,
that stadium was gorgeous though. We had a good time. I hooked up with a buddy of mine that flew out and met me there, so we went to the game together. So Giants have fallen apart ever since, but maybe number one pick in the draft this year. We'll see.
We did grab Daniel Jones for our practice squad.
I saw that.
So if you want to,
if any guy can turn him around, it might be your coach.
Let's go.
That's why I was thinking that there was a chance where they might want to get rid of Darnold because of the money.
Yeah.
And maybe he thinks he could do the same thing with Daniel Jones. And then they still got McCarthy because I'm sure they don't want to give up on their first round draft pick, right?
I don't think they will. And it's funny because, when they got rid of Zimmer and they got rid of our old GM like 3 years ago, we brought in Kwesi, who was on the administration of like the 49ers the year they went to the Super Bowl, and then Kevin O'Connell, who had won. So I really like how they're very strategic in who they pick up and why they do things. So I haven't figured out the Daniel Jones
It'll be interesting
play yet, but we'll see.
Well, that's the only angle I see. They're nervous about whether they're going to sign Darnold, and they're thinking maybe Daniel Jones can start for us until the rookie's ready.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe Darnold. I mean, nobody's given Darnold the opportunity that Kevin O'Connell has either.
Totally.
And so,
but he's going to get some offers now.
He is.
He's a free agent, isn't he, this year? So he's going to get paid.
But the last thing you want to do is go from a place where everything's perfect and go right back to old Darnold.
If I'm him, I don't want to leave.
Yeah, I would
totally. I feel that for sure.
We'll see.
Do you have a favorite book, author, seminar, anything that comes to mind that's made an impact on you personally or professionally?
I mean, as far as like a specific book, I'm more of a podcaster on the morning.
Your favorite podcast?
I honestly listen to a lot of the podcasts through my BNI chapter.
Okay.
But a lot of the reading that I do, because there's only so much time during the day, is I'm an investor as well, like with the stock market and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of my reading is Yahoo Finance, Wall Street Journal, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
I like learning about companies, what they're doing and why, and just investing is one of my hobbies. And
there you go.
It's hard to...
Got a favorite stock tip?
I mean, I think Target is a great mover.
Target's moving, huh?
They move between every earnings call and after every earnings call. They move drastically in one direction or another. So some straddle option plays are good on Target.
I thought I heard something recently about how like Tesla is going to be the first $1 trillion company.
Yeah, I think they already hit the $1 trillion market cap.
Really?
I think
so. I don't know if they hit that high. Maybe they have. Yeah.
Maybe they went under and now they're back up. But yeah, Tesla's. Those stocks are just running.
Beast.
Yeah. Apple's now running again too. Finally, after a few years.
No, they're not. I was curious with like Elon being so outspoken about Trump and everything that he's been doing on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
If that would have negatively impacted Tesla's stock at all, it doesn't seem like it has that much.
No, they just hit an all-time high like yesterday. Actually.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't really got into crypto, but I think there was some stuff about Elon Musk. Purchasing, what was the one? Dogecoin, but then there's another one, XRP.
Ripple.
Ripple.
Yeah.
And of course, like shoots up $1.
Yeah, of course. But anything he touches seems like it's going to have some. At least it brings a lot of energy and attention to it.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm in the crypto world a little bit myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. But,
all right, a couple other things here. So, do you have a favorite movie or TV show?
I'm a huge murder documentary on Netflix.
Are you now?
Yeah.
All right.
I just like, they captivate me, those stories, and I'm like, are you serious? Like, these people are really out there doing stuff like this?
Yeah, there's some crazy stuff.
And so, like,
did you see the Jeffrey Dahmer one?
I did, but that one,
disturbing.
I had to like stop watching.
Yeah, I know.
Like, this one makes me feel sad about. Like, I'm more of a thriller type.
I'm
like,
depressed about humanity.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I get caught up in those documentaries, man, and then sports documentaries, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But television for me is mainly just, I'm knocking out emails at night on my laptop and football, so.
Yeah. Are you a baseball fan or no?
I'm not a huge baseball fan.
They have a documentary on Netflix about the '04 Red Sox comeback against the Yankees.
That one's on my list. I do like stuff like that, and
I'm a Yankees fan, so it's painful to revisit it, but still was a historic thing, obviously.
Yeah,
and it was fun to watch, looking back to those teams back then and the dynamic of all of that.
And you remember like how you were perceiving sports and that
back then versus today.
Yeah.
And I was at UT. I was at University of Tampa back in those days. Nice. So different animal, and all my dorm mates were all from Mass or Connecticut or New York. So there was a lot of animosity between Red Sox Yankees back in those days. So it was fun living here at that time. All right, we'll put a bow on this, and I could talk to you about sports, I think, for hours, so we could definitely have that a whole other podcast. I'm debating maybe starting a sporting podcast, Rob. I think I want to.
I like it.
I think that would be a lot of fun, dude. Just talking sports all day. I mean,
Absolutely.
Come on now. I don't care if I make money from it or not. I just want to talk sports with people.
Got the setup for it.
Yeah, I mean, let's make this happen.
Yeah.
So here's my last question for you. Let's imagine that day coming, hopefully many, many years from now, where you're sitting on that rocking chair and you're thinking about your legacy and what you'd want to be most remembered for. What do you think comes to mind as far as some thoughts on what would be most important to you?
Yeah. One of the first things that Ray told me when I got into this business, before I even made $1 in the lending space, is he said, for him, I asked him the same question. I said, "What?" He's like, "It's not about how many millions you make. It's also largely about how many others you can lead to make millions." And so, honestly, like that's resonated with me and stuck with me through my entire career, and that's why I've started a team. It's great. It's great, like helping people grow their own business and achieve milestones that they didn't think or couldn't achieve on their own without mentorship and guidance. And one thing, once you become a master at your craft, the next biggest challenge is being able to reflect that in somebody else that has the same motivations as you, and that's where management can be challenging, but it's also like some of the best, the largest positives or largest wins about it are the wins for the people on your team. On a more personal standpoint, I plan on, I'm pretty involved with Radiant Church, and I plan on, doing some mission trips in South Africa end of year and stuff like that. So
very cool.
Just being part of that type of expansion is a legacy, is like, the personal legacy that.
Yeah. I love that. I started a foundation called Lives for Christ, which is similar, tied to mission trips. And our goal is to, any capital we do raise, there's different things we have planned as far as how funding would flow through it. But 100% of it is designed to go towards mission organizations that our church is affiliated with. We go to church at Hillsdale.
That's awesome.
Off of Ehrlich. But man, I'd love to get my kids involved with that. They're all young right now, but as they grow, I'd like that to be more of like a family legacy thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, man. That's what it's all about, right?
It is.
Giving back, helping others.
Yeah.
I love your first point, too. Years ago, and this is something maybe I'd like to revisit one day, but I remember I created an entity called M30 Freedom, which I still have now as really like a holding company.
Yeah.
But the concept behind it was wanting to help people become millionaires by the time they hit 30.
I like that.
And because I wanted to be a millionaire by the time I hit 30, but I didn't hit that goal. So then I was like, I felt like a hypocrite to maybe go down that road if I wasn't yet. So I'm still working on that before I feel like that, like I have that ironed out as far as how I want to deliver that value.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I was going to say
I could easily. That's a
M3
piece of cake.
44.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right, for sure. Like there is still a part of me that has a passion for wanting to help like students and people in that age bracket, like in their 20s especially, because just a lot of people have these massive goals in their 20s, but they don't have real like either coaching or mentorship or just like really, you said, Rob, direction,
financial literacy.
Totally, that's part of it too.
It's part of it for sure. Is a lot of people don't understand the way interest works and what interest is, even
absolutely.
Though they teach us stuff. But yeah, no, I like that.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to work together on that. We'll put something together, get a little business model out there. That we have some entrepreneurship
we do.
Conversations a lot of times. So.
Yeah, we do.
All right, this has been fun, and we'll have to have you back sometime as we launch M30 or M40 or M50 Freedom and figure out how we're going to make that work.
Thanks for having me, Don.
It's been a pleasure. We're going to end with a challenge like we always do to the audience. So if you're watching on any of the 15 plus podcast platforms that we're on, subscribe, by the way, to the button. If you haven't clicked that yet, then that way you'll be notified every time a new episode drops, because we do that weekly. And then one last thing I'll ask you too is if someone wanted to reach out to you, Sam, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, honestly, text or email. So let me give you all my phone number. My cell phone number direct is 218-340-6474. That's 218-340-6474. My email is samuel.gay. That's samuel.gay, Gay, at ccm.com. So look forward to connecting with some of y'all, and always happy to talk about anything value added to your business and career. So
or travel in Europe if you want.
Or travel in Europe, yeah.
All that good stuff. Or the Minnesota Vikings. Whatever floats your boat.
All the bandwagon fans.
Sam is a great conversationalist, and definitely I've had multiple lunches with Sam over the years, so he's an interesting dude and one that you would enjoy connecting with, and can obviously make a huge impact on helping your business as well. So highly recommended for any agent out there too who needs a great lending partner. You should have a conversation with Sam and see where that can go. Like I was saying, put a bow on the episode by just giving you a challenge to do something and take action, right? That's really what this whole podcast is about. What is one thing that you can take from our conversation today that'll help propel you forward personally or professionally based on what we talked about? And if you do that one thing, then that way the time you invested in this podcast, wherever you might be watching or listening, is worth it. If you're not taking any action, then a lot of the time that you invested really just gets wasted. And so it could be all kinds of things. Maybe you just need to have a conversation with someone like Sam, reach out, talk about some of these different lending products that he has, especially if you're working with self-employed professionals or 1099s or people in the entrepreneurial world. Sam has a lot of products, it sounds like, to help those types of clients. Maybe you're somebody who wants to get into lending and you're hearing about us and you're like, hey, I want to talk more about like the path that Sam took and how to become great in the business. Or maybe you're somebody who wants to, look for a branch manager that you could work with. And Sam obviously is going to be building his team this year as well, or any of the other things that we talked about, favorite books or authors or movies, or, maybe you want to become a Minnesota Vikings fan, whatever it might be. Do something, take action in one way that's going to help move things forward for you so that this time was worth it. We, of course, will see you on the next episode of the Tampa Bay Real Producers podcast. And, of course, check us out at topproducersnation.com to become a top producer in your desired market and see all the resources that we have available for you to help you do that. We'll see you later. Bye.